gaming bets, online betting for every esports fan. Dota 2 and Hearthstone, CSGO and Overwatch, StarCraft 2, the choice is yours. Express bets for multiple matches or live bets on the game you are watching right now. Know your way around Dota 2? Make a prediction for picks and bans. Playing CSGO? Guess the number of rounds in a certain match. Daily quest for all participants and all the best choice of payment systems. More than 600,000 users have already made their bets on the spectacular matches since 2011. EGB.com. You know for sure who's gonna win.
Live from the Pinewood Iskandar, Malaysia studios, it is day 2 of the PGL CSGO Minor Championship here in Asia. Again, if you're just joining us, we are doing the Valve kind of sponsored minor system that leads us to the big major in Atlanta that E-League is hosting this year. So there's minors all over the world happening. We are taking care of the Asian one. I believe next week you guys head to Bucharest to do the European one. Yep. And then basically the winner of all these minor qualifiers will go to one more major qualifier to figure out what teams will join the Legends in Atlanta for our next big major. Again, I'm Sir Scoots. I can't do this alone, obviously. Thank God I've got my boy Vendetta and Nat2 here as well. Gentlemen, good morning and welcome to day 2. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing great. I had a surprisingly good night of sleep, so that was
really
nice.
We're all kind of getting over our jet lag. I get my luggage tonight right before I leave. It's great.
You get to bring it back home.
Yeah, I get to bring it back home. I won't even unpack it. So let's get everyone caught up. Again, we started with 8 teams. We're now down to 4. So unfortunately, 4 teams we said goodbye to last night. The 4 teams that are left are basically the 4 teams we thought would be here. Our first matchup, obviously, Renegades. Well, here you see the groups how we started. Group A was Tyloo, MVP Project, Atletico, and XL. And as you can see, Tyloo came out of that, and Project came out of that. And then on Group B, Renegades, VG Cyberzen, Fire Dragoon, and Team Bot. And out of that, Renegades and VG Cyberzen came out, which, again, as we talked about yesterday, we kind of thought was going to happen.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting matchups here, I think. I think the first game we have, Renegades and MVP, for me at least, is pretty straightforward. But Tyloo versus VG, interesting Chinese matchup. And then when you put MVP in that mix, eventually against either of those 2 teams can become always a bit of a war. So I think it's going to be a great couple of days here to determine who's going to actually go into that major qualifier. Yeah, no, it should be a lot of fun. And even though we ended up with the 4 teams that we kind of expected going into this tournament, it wasn't necessarily the case. It could have very easily been, gone differently. We saw Atletico obviously bringing MVP pretty much to the brink and then kind of just letting them pass them at the finish line. And from what we saw yesterday, Fire Dragoons actually put up a really solid fight versus Vici, bringing them all the way to a 3rd map after barely losing out on Cobble. So they had the opportunity to close up 2-0 as well. But in the end, we're going to see the most experienced teams really from the region. And of course, not only are they playing for those 2 spots, they're also playing for a little bit of money. So let's go ahead and show everyone what's on the line other than the minor spots. You got $50,000 total on the line. First place takes home $30K, and obviously a spot into the minor final
qualifier system, if you will. And then obviously second place takes a nice chunk home, also gets a bid to the next level. Third place takes home some money, and you can see how it all works. We started with 2 groups of 4 teams, and I guess now we're basically into the 14 playoff bracket. And today we are going to do the
upper part.
All the upper stuff. We'll show you some graphics on that in a minute. But let's get right into kind of the brackets and kind of show everyone how we got here. Starting off with Group A, and again, kind of like you said. But as I said, it played out as we thought, but it really, on some of this, could have gone the other way. Like, we saw Project last night in the bar, and, like, I started giggling at them, and they started giggling at me, and I'm like, you guys know that second map. Like, that was not you, right? Like, and they knew, like,
Yeah.
You know when you beat a team and when they kind of beat themselves, and they kind of giggled, and yeah, we got away with that one, Scott, is basically what they said to me.
Yeah, no, it's a good thing for them as well, because we did actually get to see their best performance on the last map as well. So that's promising if you're MVP going further, but that's definitely true, and they're lucky to be here today. Even though they were the better team, closing out the series, they were not for the 2 first maps.
Definitely not.
Yep. And then as you can see how the bracket played out,
Tyler having a pretty good time just overall, really. I think it was a 16-1 versus NXL, and they didn't have too many issues with MVP either.
Yeah, they seem like the overall right now the most confident team that we've seen. Obviously, we haven't seen the other group play, but from Group A, they just seemed like right at home, playing the ways they wanted to, and not really. There was no nerves, nothing really to be seen there. Very routine for them to be at this point.
And then you see Group B there. Again, Renegades had a very easy first match, but the second match actually went into overtime with CyberZen, so I had to work for that one a little bit.
Being up to 13-3 at best.
Yeah,
that's not a great thing to. Apparently, they had a lot of problems on that B bomb set in Cobblestone. I talked with Ricky a little bit before this game here.
And then you see the lower bracket, Team Bot Fire Dragoons, and then I saw one of the players from Team Bot today. We were chatting a little bit, and talked about very mixed team. They had a sub come in. They don't have a lot of experience under their belt, but they're staying together. They're not breaking up. They get that what happened is probably what was going to happen.
Yeah.
So they're not too they took a map off of Fire Dragoon, which is great.
Yeah.
Something to build on.
Absolutely. Sure.
But they were one of those kind of teams that was just really excited to going towards the next level and be at something like this.
This is the great thing about the minor system, is they're giving new teams, new names, possibilities to come and compete in this kind of environment, because it is very different from playing from home, right? So it's a great development system.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and Valve keeps tweaking it.
For the better.
For the better. I think eventually maybe we get away from the invite system and it's maybe qualifiers for everybody. I know we've all been debating. The last major was 5 months ago. Should legends still be legends? Should they get seeds because they're legends? All those kind of things.
I think it's a really tough conversation, but maybe something leaning towards like a close qualification phase maybe would be where it's at. Get invited to a qualification.
Yeah.
But so you kind of you still have invites, but not to the actual main event, right? That could be one if they're going about it. I'm leaning towards kind of just inviting your returning champion.
Yeah,
and that being like the only thing. So at any given point, you still have to fight to earn your spot at a major.
Yeah, and of course, if Valve takes it towards how they do the international and the Dota route, then we're going to have a lot of invites, because they invite a massive amount of teams, and then they start doing qualifications and stuff like that. All right, let's get into the actual playoff bracket so you see what we're doing today. Again, no one goes home today. These are all best of threes, and these are all in the upper bracket. So our first match, as you can see, Renegades taking on MVP Project, and then Tyloo taking on CyberZen. So we'll play these 2 matches, and then we will play that upper bracket final, if you will. So that team who wins the final match today is booked into the grand final for tomorrow, which also means that they're going to the next qualification system as well.
That's the big thing.
That's a big thing.
I think it's a great thing that we're doing double elimination here, by the way, just so that there's not going to be any flukes. It's always going to be a result that was deserved to be had.
Yeah, and here you go. Here is the actual schedule, as we've talked about. Today we're going to do, like I said, all the upper bracket stuff, and then tomorrow is literally the day that teams will be sent home or sent forward. So that'll be kind of nice. So 3 best of threes each day will get us through this tournament. And let's kind of start talking about this first matchup, right?
Sure.
Had a chat with Gomez, right, from Renegades today. They are obviously now an NA-based team in the sense that they live in Detroit, Michigan, or outside Detroit, Michigan, I should say. And it's going great for them. They're, because I was born in Detroit, and Detroit itself gets a lot of grief. It's a big city. It has some bad areas, has some great areas. They're actually out in the suburbs, so they're all well and good, and they're enjoying it. And their team owner, NBA guy, right down the street. Yeah, and I don't think Gomez couldn't say enough things about this guy, right? So good things in that sense. Like he's taking very good care of them, whatever they need. He's well off enough, and he's a hardcore gamer himself. So when the players say stuff like, "Hey, we need a certain kind of chair, like we need chairs, we need certain monitors," they don't get any kind of pushback. Like, "Do you really need a 144 hertz monitor? Those are expensive, bro." And he just gets it for them.
Well,
That's nice.
He is Swedish after all, so
true.
It makes
Exactly
sense,
right. Yep.
Born gamer.
It's very different from actually the situations they were in and during the last minor, because that's when everything was a question mark. They didn't even know what was going to happen with the organization. When it comes to playing as well, they were not in the right place at the time, because you could see from Chad that he was on the brink of quitting already at that point. It only took
I think he had mentally checked out at that point.
Exactly. It only took a month after that after the major qualifier that he actually did quit. So that's it. You could just see the team was like devastated in so many ways. You could see in their body language a lot of just the way they were. They were not happy at all.
They were not having.
Yeah, so they've definitely found a nice home.
Yeah, it's great to see now that they have a lot of positives going for them. They've had a good EPL season. Unfortunate with the scheduling being as it is, they can attend the finals even though they qualified for it. But I can't blame them, right? I mean, everyone wants to get into the majors. That's the thing you want to get involved with, and that's why they're here. I think they have a very good chance of making the top two, at least in my books, and I would probably think you guys agree on this.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So yeah, it's good to see them being on a positive stride.
All right, and obviously their opponent for the day is going to be MVP Project. Let's go ahead and take a look at their roster. And again, that's also a historic esports brand as well, MVP.
Absolutely.
So I'm sure they're pretty good in the sense of being taken care of as well.
For sure.
I think they're okay.
I mean, if anyone want to talk about laying the groundworks of how to do esport teams, right, with team houses and everything, I think MVP Project is probably not the worst place to start, right?
Very storied brand for sure. Walk us through.
HSK, he's had a great tournament so far.
Absolutely.
Numerically, and hitting a lot of crucial op shots, and that's always going to be it's an instrumental part of a Counter-Strike team, right? So it's good to see that he's definitely been hitting his stride.
Yeah, and obviously we have Rinda, Sound, Sign, RGC to just go through the entire lineup with HSK. Rinda being one of the bigger surprises for me, actually, leading up to this tournament. We talked about on day one in the pre-show how Sign pretty much has been their best player for a long time, and HSK being the kind of the guy who steps up behind him, and those two are the kind of the tandem that's going to bring them success. But Rinda, for the better part of this tournament, has been playing really, really well.
I feel like what could elevate them is if Sign actually manages to keep that kind of level he had in those certain situations. We saw him really be that.
Like the two first games.
He could be that last little push they needed to get around in the back. But if he and then Rinda and HSK could actually really play well as a trio, then you've got an actual thing going on. But as long as they're kind of trading who's going to have that game off, it's not going to work so great, especially as the competition is going to get tougher here.
Yeah.
And we talked about Renegades already. Let's go ahead and introduce you to their roster in case you're not familiar with all these guys. Natu, why don't you walk us through?
Yeah, AZR, Yam, JKS, Ustilo, and Ricky. Pretty much Ricky being the latest addition to this lineup, obviously. He took the place of Sponge, who quit in the summer. I think it was June, I want to say, after the major qualifier. Like I said, these guys have been on a bit of an upstride. They've been doing pretty well in the EPL. They're based in NA, like we went through. I think the interesting factor about this lineup is now they've added Ricky in it. That really added like a new layer of firepower into it. They already had Yam, who's a pretty good opera. I think a little bit of inconsistency here and there, but Ricky is like the kind of like the flashy kind of an opera. He can make a lot of moves. He's good at taking aggressive peaks and kind of like the being like a Joker player, kind of a thing going on. That's always going to be like a great added layer to your lineup.
Yeah, and he's versatile enough to the fact that he can actually play more than just one static style or just have one mode when he plays with an op as well, which is very beneficial for him and very different from what Renegades have had previously. If you want to go back to the very early days of like Vox Eminor with Havoc and Sponge being the kind of guys who would pick up the op or something to that effect. Now they have a much more versatile opper who just I think on a just average level is better than what they've had previously. Yeah. So obviously that's a great thing, and I think Azza probably is the one who's come into his own the most over the course of time.
It's funny if you think about the lineup, how it's gradually been like going through the phases from Vox Eminor. It's like it seems to like be like a bunch of friends who play together, and then gradually they've been switching the weakest link on the lineup one by one.
Yeah.
To like have the most individual talent they could from Australia.
Well, as an ex-player though, somewhere along the way that you have to like make that transition like you're playing with your buddies to we need to win and I love you, bro, but I need to cut you, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Been there, done that.
Yeah. Been there, done that.
Yeah.
Were you the cutty or the cutter?
Both. Both.
All right.
Along the line, both. But no, it's not always individual skill only, but it's also like finding the right five to put together. Obviously, so it's not as straightforward as that. But if it kind of happens to work that way, then you'll find the best fit of 5 people, but also the best individual skill. Then that's even better, right?
Well, and shout outs to Sponge. He's now made a great transition to kind of what we do. He's an analyst, and if you're just tuning in, hopefully you guys have been up for 24 hours. You've been watching the event in Brazil. Shout out to all our homies in Brazil that are working. And if you're a Counter-Strike fan, you've had 24 hours of Counter-Strike basically, right? Because we went off the air. And they were still on the air, and now they're just finishing up, and we're back on the air. So it's great. If you're a fan, you're not getting any sleep this weekend, that's for sure.
Yeah, we're crossing our fingers they're ending, at least.
Yep. Well, let's take a look at the veto. That is all ready. Again, best of 3s. No one going home today. And again, pick ban, pick ban, pick ban. Walk us through it.
Obviously, Overpass being the first ban for Renegades. Strong map choice, or strong map for MVP. Just in this region as well. So this is a perfectly sensible pick from Renegades to remove right away. Cash, we've seen MVP remove that pretty much right off the bat immediately and at any given opportunity. So no big surprises there either. And Renegades do the kind of sensible thing. And we're gonna see Nuke again. And this is the kind of a problem that MVP runs into with the fact that they don't play Cash at all under any circumstances. Does leave the second map that they pretty much never play.
Rambo, you got some work to do.
Yeah, and he's going to have to help them pretty much get a 6-map pool because they're not at that point right now. So Renegades definitely taking advantage of that. And going further, no real big surprises by us. Well, what we see MVP picking up as well. Honestly, the veto kind of went as we expected in many ways. No real big surprises. But I guess you kind of would have liked to see them try Cash instead of Nuke, given what we saw them do on Nuke yesterday.
It wasn't great. I mean, it's at that point where it's kind of a lost cause, it feels like. But at least, okay, fair enough. They did pick up some rounds going into it eventually, but at that point, it was already pretty much done for the map. So it was one of those efforts that came a little bit too late, right?
Yeah, and I think one of the also, an added downside to the fact that MVP, obviously, they pick up Cobble because I think statistically and just on a general basis, that is their best map.
Yeah, they're 100% on it.
The problem is that it's a very viable map for Renegades as well.
Yeah,
and it's been that for a long time.
Yeah.
So even Renegades can feel comfortable about this fact. Doesn't matter for them. It doesn't matter that they left MVP's best map open. It's more we feel totally comfortable playing this versus expected better opposition than what we've ran into or what we're running into now.
Put it this way. I mean, Renegades is 5-0 in October for Cobblestone. They played North American teams plus VG yesterday. Now 12-0 for MVP, but they've only played Asian teams.
Yeah.
So I mean, okay, there's Tylo in there.
Exactly.
It's a prominent Cobblestone team, international as well. But I think overall, the big issue really is that Renegades has pound for pound so much skill to throw on the server that it's going to become an issue as its own.
Yeah, and that is the map they played yesterday and went to overtime with VG Cyberzen.
Yeah, that's true.
Renegades. So I mean, they're warmed up on it, so to speak. and also when I was speaking to Gomez, he mentioned, he kind of giggled. He's like, I can't believe we love these maps. This is crazy for us,
Also, I'm not really a fan of Train for MVP.
Oh God,
it was horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, I even told Can your T side is horrible, dude. There's a lot of work to be done. They need to find there was no actual executes. It's a lot of just trying to go somewhere. Not really have. It's like headless chickens running around basically, and just hoping to get a pick and then run with it, kind of a play style. It only works for a handful of teams. We're talking VP, Navi, that kind of teams that really make that work.
Yeah, and the reason why it works is because they have unique kind of individual players who
chemistry together,
exactly,
intuitively taking decisions afterwards.
Exactly, and you have a handful of players who can actually do that on a consistent basis, and MVP does not have any of those players. So obviously, this is going to lead to issues for them on their entire T side. So I'm curious though, did you get an answer from Ken regarding why they keep going back to this map or keep leaving it back in the pool?
Not really. He's not. See, he's a mysterious man.
He
doesn't really give you a lot when it comes to. He just kept telling me they have a white map pool. I'm like, all right, dude.
All right, if you say so. Yeah. All right. Well,
fair enough.
Let's bring our casters into this whole thing. We got James and DDK here joining us all day today. Your guys' thoughts on these maps? What do you think?
Very Renegades.
Okay.
Very,
yeah.
very
Very
much
Renegades.
I think that Renegades are a big favorite in this. I actually think that this team has a lot of potential, which I think they are. I think their ceiling is a lot higher than where they're playing at the moment, and I hope that they reach that next year. One player we haven't really mentioned yet is Ustillo, who recently has been monstrous, absolutely monstrous for Renegades, especially in the more open maps such as Cash and so on, which we're not going to see today. So, I mean, I'm quite interested to see how Ricky will do on Nuke, because you can either, I think, as an AWPer on that map, you're either going to have a great game or a terrible game. But there aren't the nice open maps for him to really get going. But Ustillo is the man to watch for me on this particular lineup.
I mean, it would be great to see him do similar stuff that we saw Fallen do with SK on Nuke, where he was everywhere. He was on ramp, he was yard, he was going secret, he was going hot, like trying to get forcing picks, right?
They'll never know where he is.
Yeah, that's when you know your operator is feeling it, and I want to see that happen. That'd be great for them.
Predictions.
I think there's going to be Renegades any day of the week on Nuke, to be honest. MVP not giving us a lot of reason to side with them.
Okay.
Yeah, same thing here.
Gentlemen?
Yeah, I mean, it's just got Renegades written all over it, to be honest.
All right. I know you don't want to do predictions, it's fine, but you're just nodding. We already know. You're going to say
once,
Renegades.
it's rare that I will do it, but on this particular...
It's like when it's 100%.
Yeah. I have full confidence in Renegades, definitely.
You're a brave
This
man,
might be
James.
some sort of caster curse reversal happening now. Now you're gonna hurt Renegades by finally predicting something. You know, maybe
We'll find out.
All right, gentlemen, it is all yours. Thank you very much. See you after the map.
Okay, and I like how you were talking about Ustillo there, James, because when we casted Renegades at E-League, actually, and we saw them with the kind of the newer, refreshed lineup, it did seem like he was finally kind of growing into this player that we didn't know existed. Yeah. And the level of clutch was what was really surprising, because he was insanely clutch, way more clutch than any other players on the team. And if he has that consistency, which it seems like he might start to be generating, then he's the MVP for me.
Yeah, I think this lineup of Renegades has a lot of potential going into 2017.
Oh yeah.
To be like the top half of a top 10, I guess top 5, potentially. I think will they reach it at some point? I don't know, but I hope that they go in that direction. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I really think this is a nice, strong Oceanic lineup. And
it's
I
like
can't wait to see what they do next year.
That they could put together really from Oceania, because it's like I think it's the first time we've seen a team where you look at every single player and you feel like they can really compete at the very top level, like you say. Individually, maybe some of them have not perfect decision making, but just from the raw firepower they have that, and everything else can kind of be worked on. Whereas in previous Oceanic lineups, it's kind of like, okay, well, we got these two players are really good. Like in some Renegades lineups from the past, like, okay, you got Az and you got JKS, but then, you know, the firepower isn't quite on the rest of the team, but finally we're there.
The only thing that makes me sad is that it savaged the Immunity lineup, and you had those two teams going against each other, which was always fun, especially when we had our own Oceanic League. But, you know, if Renegades reach the potential that they have with this team, then it's all for the better, I would say. So we'll see if they can get there, but we won't keep all the light on them. MVP. This is, I mean, they did better than expected on Nuke yesterday. And they said afterwards that it's not really a map they play at the moment, but you can see they've got veto issues, essentially with Cash being an auto ban for them.
And generally, well, speaking of issues, Atletico were having issues generally as well.
Yeah,
so that definitely helped MVP get into this one. Yeah,
they definitely threw a 2-0. So it's interesting. I mean, the plus side for MVP is that they have some recent experience now. Maybe they can. I mean, I don't know how much that will allow them to improve in the space of 24 hours, but there are things that Renegades might do, for example, that MVP will be in a better position to adjust to faster than they would have had they not played that game yesterday. So, you know, fingers crossed we get a nice competitive game here.
I think individually we just see quite a few players from MVP stepping up against Atletico. More specifically, towards the end of the day, I think we start to see much better stuff from Argency and Sound, who, at the beginning of the day weren't really the two players that really stood out for MVP. It was more Sign and Rinder that were actually the two heavy fraggers, and HSK also having a stronger finish to the day with the AWP plays, and that was very important, especially going up against Infrequent of Atletico. But the problem is really, I think across the board, Renegades are just stronger players individually. So even if you say, okay, they've got a weaker strategy, or maybe this is not the best map for them, they can always rely on a very kind of trade-heavy kind of fast-paced, individual, focused sort of approach to the game, where they just try to find those quick frags on the T side, and that was a style that actually in the past has worked quite well for Oceanic teams when they were coming into the European and North American scene, you know, way back in the day, because it is a style that kind of ignores any metagame considerations because you're just playing for trades and so on. But Nuke is a funny map, James. It's a funny one.
Being a best of 3, Renegades pick Nuke, so MVP will be afforded the choice of sides. They've picked the CT side, so no knife round until the third map should go the distance. MVP starting on the CT side. Let's see what Renegades have to offer them. JKS going to be the grenade man, including a high explosive actually. That's quite interesting. It's not very often you'll see the T side starting with a HE in the pistol round. I mean, instead of a HE, he can drop a P250 for a teammate, who then becomes a raid boss to a degree because it has double the range of a Glock for one-shots on a pistol round.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. And I think the majority of people would massively prefer that P250. HE's gone now, didn't do anything. Although, nice opening from Yam. Actually catches Argency, who went pretty close there to Radio. And this is a very fast entry down onto the B-bomb site. We see MVP rotating quickly. And Renegades might not get an opportunity to easily plant right now, but they're doing the smart thing and setting up on the choke points so they can get the frags instead.
Yeah, so they've got a crossfire before the bomb's even gone down. Post-plant position, pre-plant. Lovely stuff from Renegades, as with 2 kills on the ramp, but Rinda will come straight back. So 2 versus 3 now. And the bomb site's been abandoned. And so has all their HP on Sign. Rinda soon to follow as well. Great stuff from Renegades. It's so nice to see. They had confidence they've secured the site. So they'll go into post-plant positions before the bomb even goes down. That's awesome to see. Not very often you see that from any team.
Yeah, and it's so difficult to deal with as well. Look at this crossfire. It's beautiful stuff. It's quite funny, actually, because as they kind of screwed himself over by going for the USP. Either way, it doesn't matter at all. 1-0 for Renegades. They start off with a good economy, and love to see the double Mac 10s out for them. MVP will have a very limited investment, not deciding to force buy in this round, which is interesting, actually, because force buys are quite viable, I would say, on Nuke. Yeah,
this has been consistent, though, from MVP. They, from what we've seen in the tournament, they never go for the force buy. Correct me if I'm wrong, in the second round. It's almost always been, or even when they've won a pistol, lost the following round, then they'll just eco afterwards. Renegades blocking each other in the squeaky door. Only 1 man down for the time being. He's still got to be careful with 6 HP. Can save himself some money, not be too aggressive. You know, HSK just playing the corners, but Yam too far away, ready and good to go with his Galil. Saw some Titan shirts here yesterday,
which is a bit strange, isn't it?
Always, but the Titan shirt always reminds me of the spray pattern of the Galil, which is essentially the Titan logo,
right.
But in reverse, upside down, basically. And
I kind of miss the era of having an existence on a team, even though he never quite managed to find success. It was always good to see his presence in the top level.
Yeah, maybe we'll see it again. MVP with pistols once more, not spending too much money. So we'll focus on the anti-eco strategies of Renegades in this round, sticking together so they can trade, always good. And the last man is not the one carrying the bomb, also important, because that can often lead to disaster. Mostly when there's less time on the clock, though. It's not a big deal in this respect. As with a forward position, using the corners as well. Got 2 places. Well, he's got a spot to retreat from if he needs to, which is really good. Gives him time to reload. Teammate with him as well. Happy to pursue with the Glock though.
And one interesting thing as well about Renegades, and with the consideration of playing Nuke, is that in North America there are actually a few teams that do play Nuke that actually some specialize and others just practice it quite a lot. And for example, that does allow Renegades to have a greater sample size of opponents who are good at Nuke, and that does actually seem to be somewhat rare that there are teams that really play Nuke these days. And one of the key things about that is, for example, when you watch a team like Echo Fox from North America, a team that does specialize in Nuke, you see very strong anti-eco rounds because they've drilled them to a T. And Renegade's going for one of the more unusual anti-eco rounds there, but it did actually catch MVP off guard. The other one that I would expect to see is just going around the catwalk outside and attacking the A-bomb site, the upper bomb site from heaven. That's a very, very effective, very optimal one. But back into the bite.
So now we have some interesting situations. MVP picks up a UMP and a MAC-10 in the previous round. Sign's going to continue with the MAC-10. He's playing close to main / squeaky door, so that's a viable spot. I mean, it's still maybe not the best weapon he wants, but at close range, he's got the moving accuracy, so we'll see if that works out. In the meantime, push coming out from MVP, jumping to avoid headshot. Trades will go in favor of Renegades, though. Now down to 2 versus 2. That is 6 frags in the space of maybe 3 seconds. The bomb still in control of Renegades. Both players are split up, though. There you go. Usolo gets taken down in isolation. That will speed Rikke up. Going for a defensive plant. Well, got distraction being run. Nice so far from Rikke. Can he get the second one? No. Sign will just about take him down. However, look at the damage done to the economy of MVP. Ooh, spraying the body, of course. I like the idea of a plant against where the exposed water is, because the CTs essentially have to face the water to defuse the bomb. The problem is it does expose you as you're planting to the entire site, so it has its own dangers in getting the plant in the first place. But there we go, MVP get their first round on the board on the first buy. Problem is they only had 1 man survive. They're going to have no money in the bank, and Renegades have another full buy.
Well, luckily for MVP is they actually saved a couple guns going into it, so it's not as bad as it could be, which is always good. And I do like the decision to get the shotgun there on sound. This is a map where you can definitely use it quite effectively as a CTs. However, he might not see early action areas. In fact, the action going towards Sign outside, and he's in a very committed position there. Cannot fall back down the stairs, which would be ideal in this position, so he could delay so that his teammates could actually get into a rotation. But Renegades are moving too quickly, so it's going to be very difficult. You can see HSK actually in a very nice off angle, so this could work out. He's got the bomb there as well, and this is problematic for Renegades all of a sudden because MVP have good positioning to deal with this because of where the bomb is dropped, leaving just Yam and JKS alone to deal with the situation, and it's going to be a tough one to deal with, to say the least. Yam's going to have quite a few awkward engagements here. That is going to help. Nice timing in from JKS. But still, that bomb is down on the stairs. How do they get to HSK? HSK should have very good engagements here with this AWP. And there's a couple flashbangs, and that's it for Renegades.
They just spotted Argency on the ramp, but he's focusing on the ramp itself. Pokes into the site, so he knows roughly where Renegades are. Comes out again, and JKS will go down. So it's a 3 versus 1 now, 30 seconds left. Yeah, I'm waiting for somebody to peek, waiting for a 1 versus 1 opportunity. But it might not be what he is going to get. Play on top, that is the most awkward angle. I don't think he could even see where he was getting shot from, unfortunately. Legs exposed, and he will get taken down. So it's Renegades who will get broken first. Where Sign was, towards Secret, there's a very easy pop flash you can do. If you go to the wall close to the outside, just face the other wall, there's a line. Just aim at the line. I think if you hold both mouse buttons down, then it just bounces in. He had time to do it as well for a nice pop flash, which maybe would have saved his life. Either way, MVP get the round. Renegades have mixed Kevlar, a lot of smoke grenades, and 5 Tech 9s. They must have nasty intentions. Rikke and Usolo outside. Do wonder if they're lining up some smokes. I didn't see holding things down on the ramp for the time being. Renegades have deployed a lot of smokes, so they seem to be moving fast at the moment. It might be an A split, indeed it is. Through main, very nice stuff. 2 guys in hut as well. They've got a great chance to plant the bomb, and they haven't lost a single player.
Yeah, this is absolutely ideal now, and the AK picked up by Azza. He's going to have an elevated position as he moves up the ladder. HSK looking for a vantage point here, or rather trying to use his vantage point. But it's a very difficult approach. Even against the Tech 9s, it's very hard to get in there without a distraction. And there is a distraction, so HSK can finally get in there potentially. But still, Az is alive with that AK, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And will he find his time? He's going for it now. Rikke gets a frag onto Sign, but the defuse comes in the smoke. Oh, very awkward stuff there. Az alive with the AK, sitting in the smoke amongst all the CTs. Very weird stuff. And he's going to bring the AK into the next round. And they did get some damage, though, and the AK was saved, and the bomb was planted. So overall, despite losing the round, it's a fairly good situation for Renegades there.
Ricky's opted for grenades instead of Kevlar. Didn't have enough for the helmet, so he's going to choose to go naked and support his team with help executing to take map control or move into more suitable positions. Initial smokes going down to avoid any angles being held from the garage position. I think there is somebody in garage for the CT side. Nice cover by Rike for the time being. Renegades are going to move behind those smokes. They're walking. There's a Molotov to slow them down. But other than that, they will make their way towards Secret with the bomb in tow. JKS and Rike still on the outside.
Is there any call here, I wonder, from MVP? Do they have any knowledge of this? Because if they get very deep and get a very fast entry kill, then there's no time for the rotation. So HSK has to either get the kill or slow them down, and he will spot them. And there's one kill. Can he get another one? He's under a lot of pressure right now. His teammates need to rotate and help him out. I don't know if they're going to get there in time, though. Nice play from Yam, coming all the way around the back there, using the door to get the frag. But still, looks like Renegades are being cut off, and the bomb is down as well. So that's going to cause issues. Just Yam left alone, and this push has been blown up. HSK providing additional problems, generally speaking. Even though he did just get a 1-for-1, he did enough there. And Yam is not long for this world.
JKS was in the radio room area, made his way to the ramp, but I mean there was an easy frag for him. The guy was running backwards, but he didn't manage to get it, unfortunately. So there's a pause coming in from the Renegade side at the moment, presumably a tactical pause. Their money is a bit here and there at the moment. As has got a fair chunk, but I do wonder what they will choose to do in this round. This is a great start, though, for MVP. Starting to build some money now. I didn't see HSK both just shy of $7,000, as you can see there. So they will be in good spirits. 4 rounds in a row. 2 diffuses, though, included in that. So Renegades are getting, they're getting halfway there. We'll see if they can close it out in the future rounds. But for now, MVP, again, definitely an underdog on this map. Perhaps the very recent experience of yesterday's match will help them.
They do look better today, so far. So far, it's only 7 rounds played, but still, they do look better.
There have been some marginal situations, though, like as unable to find the bomb in the smoke. He was very close to getting that knife kill. Didn't work out in the end. But here we are. MVP in the lead. JKS and Co. going for the buy. JKS will be the man in the hut as well, while his teammates concentrate on the outside.
So we've got Renegades looking to go in for a quick push now onto the upper site, and this pace is brilliant here. You still with 2 entries there, JKS able to get 1 as well. Things looking pretty good here overall, though MVP coming in very quickly, somehow finding an unlikely few trades back in their favor for the 1 versus 1. Yam looking for the clutch here for Renegades. His team sorely need this round. HSK is just going to find him going down the vents here, and he's going to understand what's going on here, but Yam has such an advantage on the time that he can take a great post-plant position more or less anywhere that he wants to. Where will he decide to go? It's going to be a complete guessing game here for HSK. And Yam, he can potentially wait for the defuse sound.
Oh my god. Their backs are turned to each other. Yam came out the vent, went one way, and HSK had his back turned with the vent the other way. That is scary, but the time is running out for HSK to do this. Is the smoke diffuse attempt going to come in? He's got a kid as well. Yam's holding an angle. Has he got the right angle, though? 2 seconds left, 1 second left. He's so close, but he can't find it again. Another smoke diffuse coming in for MVP.
Oh, God. That is quite awkward. That is quite awkward. I was wondering, actually, as soon as he went back through the door, I was thinking to myself, did he kind of make a mental, create a mental picture of where that bomb's going to be so that he can get the spray down? Oh man, smoke diffusers, man, they are scary.
Yeah.
It works so often.
That's 2 in 8 rounds for an underdog team who now extend their lead to 2. This is pretty big stuff. It's still early days though, but definitely MVP moving in the right direction. You do wonder how many rounds they will need on their CT side, bearing in mind the expected balance of power towards Renegades.
Yeah, against Atletico, MVP had a pretty awful time on their CT side, generally speaking. So this is a massive improvement in the rounds, at least so far. And as Renegades, you get to a point where do they start to feel a bit of pressure because what they're doing is either not working quite as intended, or maybe they start to feel a bit frustrated with these repeated situations. And nice kill by Sound there. Hazard moving into a position before his teammates could really set up the trades. And you can see the kind of staggered push outside, allowing 1 versus 1s for MVP onto Renegades, and that's working out wonderfully. Nice return from Ustilla. We praised his clutch potential. No idea where he's getting shot from, and now it's a 2 versus 4 for Renegades. this effort outside was kind of just in dribs and drabs from Renegades.
Ricky and JKS both over towards Squeaky. Trades coming in. Now it's a 2 versus 1. That's a much better situation. JKS spots one player making his way into A, but I think he got spotted coming back up the vent again. Where is the second player? HSK is above the ramp at the moment, jumping in. And JKS is not going for a safe plant in this situation, may pay for it. Unable to get the bomb down. He will this time, though. Now we've got Sound moving towards the vents as HSK holds his angle on the ramp. JKS pops out and gets taken down. Only so much he could do. At least the bomb was planted for Renegades. That has been one constant in many of these rounds. The 4th plant in the last 6 rounds. But all 6 rounds have gone to MVP.
Yeah, and again, just the attack onto the outside area seems somewhat uninspired there from Renegades. One thing that we did see from MVP yesterday is that they were a team that didn't really necessarily like to give up outside, because there's a lot of teams that play Nuke and they understand the CT rotation very well, and they're really comfortable with giving up outside, just so that, and they just use it for information. Okay, we spot a few players there, we want to keep tabs on where you're going outside, but we're going to set up around it because we have such good rotations, and we can have really nice setups on the lower bomb side if necessary. But at MVP, they actually fight there. So that could be a potential for Renegades to get some kills. But either way, moving back into this round, we have a very fast upper rush coming in from Renegades as they make their way in for the entries. Not working out quite as intended. Argency actually falling. I don't think he meant to, but it's still going to work out wonderfully there. Could even get the 3rd kill onto Yam. Very low. HSK finishes it off. And that upper rush was completely blown up. That is a very bad look for Renegades. The previous upper rush was quite successful, generally speaking, but that one fell flat on its face.
MVP building quite the lead. The money is not spectacular, but it's all about the score at the moment. Renegades' money has been broken. So they will be on a Nikaram Tech 9s, perhaps a fast round from them. 3 smokes on this occasion for the Oceanic side. And it seems that there's going to be a focus on the ramp. The conga line is headed up. There's a boost coming in from the CTs though. Great start from them as well. Lovely control of ramp for the time being. There goes the bomb. He still remains and he'll be naded into oblivion. 1 play off for MVP. That is a great round for their money. 2 players making it to 5 figures now.
MVP looking great. Renegade seemingly unable to actually find ways to exploit MVP's defensive setups and some of their tendencies. And I would really like to see them work outside more, but they have to do it in a way where they actually can challenge together so that they can get the trades at the very least. We saw a lot of one-on-ones there, which can also be fine if you set them up in the right way with some flashes and so on and so forth. But generally speaking, it's not been working out for Renegades. And in the defense, they've had a lot of very marginal situations. And there it is, Sign. We haven't seen too much from him just yet, just holding outside on the stairs. He goes for a quick peek, gets a nice pick. But finally, somebody's there to trade for him, for Renegades. A 4 versus 4 is a good situation for Renegades. And they are waiting for some of the smoke grenades to dissipate and also potentially for a response from MVP as they drop a player.
Argency is holding things down in lower B. So if there is a play towards Secret from Ricky here, he will have someone waiting for him if he heads in that direction, as they're still on the silo at the moment, while JKS is again focusing on the inside. Even when most of the team are outside, he seems to be inside. He's got help as well. But will it be enough help with HSK holding an angle like this? The bait is not taken, but surely he spotted the AWPer. Nice smoke. HSK goes for the timing play. Good stuff. The corner of that red box is very sprayable as well. If you were to hold it with an M4 and there's a push coming your way, rather than facing the players there, you can just go behind the corner of the box and spray through the corner of it. Something that was in old Nuke and is brought through to the new Nuke. As around the heaven area, see the reposition from HSK. He's made a mistake. 2 headshots coming out. Nice, sharp stuff from Azza. Finally gets traded, but he's done a great work for his job, for his team. Done a great job for his team. That's what I meant to say. There we go. Renegades back on the scoreboard.
Makes sense as well. Makes sense as well. Yeah, 8-4. So yeah, slowly there could be a potential ascent here, but MVP have already kind of guaranteed that they win the first half.
Sharp as a butcher's pencil down. Look at this.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, they need to be able to pressure MVP off of outside more often so that they can have better approaches there. Because I think that is a weakness of MVP as well. Not only that maybe they could give up engagements outside, but just generally that's when you push them off of outside, they're not as good as other Nuke teams in actually positioning around that forward presence from your terrorist teammates.
Old school wallbangs. Oh, that was so close! Man, he just gave him a haircut, that. All those kinds of wallbangs you saw in old Nuke, but you never saw them too often. But when you did, it was sublime.
Yeah, again, people don't really play Nuke very much. It's kind of crazy how little it's played, so we don't really see a lot of this kind of stuff. Like on Cash, for example, when Cash was starting to be played a lot, we started to see so many new and like crazy wallbangs. Because there are lots that work on timings that you can actually kind of reliably do with just understanding the timings of the CTs. But I feel like this is really underdiscovered. Underutilized?
Underutilized.
People aren't looking for those in offline in practice mode, as it were.
45 seconds on the clock for Renegades to start moving. They look in position to go for an A split once again. You see that smoke going into garage now. Cyan doesn't have an angle. Sound's position on the site though of A is very important. He's on the low ground, so as players start to charge in, he's in a good position to do something. Will he be able to? That's another question. See you still in the heart taking big damage from the HE. Now you see people starting to move into main. Renegades are really running the clock down, and now the smoke's disappearing. They'll pay for it. Yam goes down. The bomb is outside the site.
Yeah, as it comes in straight through main there, and another quick double entry from him. Looking good now as there's an approach here for the bomb, but maybe not. That's a very important kill there, and Cyan will finish it off. Both kills, and 9-4. This is looking quite surprising. And I think that in having this map be first, Renegades are definitely thinking that this is going to be somewhat, not necessarily for free, but their expectation is we're going to take this one, we're going to have a good start to the series. If they end up actually just losing this map, that is going to, I think, change this series massively into how confident Renegades are going forwards, because MVP are playing a bit better, and Renegades can't quite seem to they can't find the solution.
Yeah, I think timing was the main issue there. They had the smoke down into garage. It was perfect. Cyan was there the entire time, just waiting for an angle. Couldn't find one in the smoke, but the smoke disappears. The bomb isn't even in the entrance, in the mouth of main. It's around the corner. Then they have to go and retrieve it. That's the last man issue, the last man carrying the bomb. Part of it is you don't want to reveal the bomb until the last possible minute, but if it's the last man, that has its inherent risks as well. As seen there, when the bomb goes down, you don't have time to allocate to an issue like that. You're going to run into problems. Renegade running out of rounds to get on the board here. I'm sure they would have expected a much stronger score than 4-9, and they're reduced to pistols. They have little choice in this situation. So MVP getting double figures on their CT side. They're going to be ecstatic with that.
So what are Renegades opting to go for here? We got the slow creep outside for Azza, looking for some opportunities. Nothing just yet though. MVP definitely should be playing it quite passively, as they should be expecting some shenanigans from the pistols. And in comes Azza on the outside, actually just really holding his position. Not pressing just yet, waiting for his teammates to get a little bit closer to him. Now Cyan could get so many good engagements here from these ranges with the M4, and we might just see that as he looks and waits patiently. And it's actually quite surprising how slowly Renegades are going for this round, or taking.
It's amazing they're all still alive, considering it's an eco round.
For long though. Here comes the MVP reinforcements, and that's 2 players down immediately. And one of the things that could help out Renegades in a round like this is the numbers advantage, or closing down the ranges. And those are two things that they were not able to accomplish. Getting picked off at range, and also picked off in isolation. So 10-4, double figures indeed for MVP. Renegades, they really need 5 rounds. I mean, this is a little bit scary, to be honest.
5 rounds wouldn't be, it wouldn't be disastrous on them, as long as they win the pistol round. I mean, there's a reasonable chance they can have a solid CT hold, and they'll be more experienced on the CT side. But again, that has an asterisk. That is the pistol round, which will be coming up a little bit later. But first, we have the last buy from Renegades on their T side. Ricky going up top again. We see more wallbang shenanigans. I like how Cyan is constantly changing his position outside, and the CT side is not predictable. Now you see HSK, he was on the ramp previously, now he makes his way into the garage position. Sound getting a nice shot through the smoke. Ts are there though. So MVP may get caught out of position now, focusing on the outside, and indeed that's exactly what's going to happen. JKS with 2 nice frags, player moving up the ladder. HSK though, gone from ramp again in the previous round to a dangerous position in main. Down to 2 versus 2, Ricky down to 12 HP. I think both MVP players might be around the main area, but Ricky is stuck. He's next to the vent with an AWP, 12 HP and the bomb. He needs Yam to come in for him because it's going to be really hard to get that bomb to the bomb site right now.
And there it is, utility finally used, and that's going to work very wonderfully against HSK. Still gets the kill though. Ricky was very, very low, and the bomb is down as well, but his position has been given up to Yam. But how does Yam deal with this? He has no flashbangs left. He's going to have to basically try to bait out a shot from HSK or just go down the vent. And he's going to choose the safer of the 2 options, which is definitely smart. And he can go for, he's going to go for the very exposed plant. And that is very interesting. It is quite an abusive plant. And Yam will find both players coming down the vents. And this is very tense up now as the pursuit is on. And Argency picks up the kill. Yam is going to be so frustrated with that. Definitely had every chance to make that clutch work. But it will not. Another situation, another very marginal round that could have gone to Renegades goes to MVP.
This is a huge score for MVP.
Yeah, it really is.
I mean,
I think there's like 3 or 4 rounds, I think, for where Renegades probably should have won them.
Yeah, I mean, Renegades, in fairness, they've been really unlucky in that half. 2 smoke diffusers coming in, one of which they were very close to with the knife. And then perhaps a mismanagement of time when they had great positioning for the A split in another round. So some unforced errors, some not. But here we are, MVP in a great spot, and they've got to be feeling confident, especially when these maps are not really your strongest veto. To start off the series, the best of 3 like this is going to be huge for you, for your confidence. But there we are. It's a crucial pistol round. MVP with it all to do on the T side now. Just focusing on angles at the moment. Look at that. That's amazing. When do you see that on a pistol round? That's hilarious and awesome. Do we have 2 double stacks from the MVP? This is very novel indeed. Very, very novel. That's actually awesome. In the meantime, Renegades have they've got Azza in main. He's holding an angle, headshot angle if anybody pops in too hard. JKS over towards the ramp. Ricky's in the garage looking outside. Ustillo is in B on the hut. And Yam is holding an angle with the HE grenade. Ustillo can finish them off as well. There aren't any grenades on MVP to execute into A, but that doesn't mean they can't suggest it by shooting open the windows. Renegade still holding still for the time being. Ricky spotting 1 player outside. That's Argency. But there's not much movement. 40 seconds, and now the charge comes.
And this is such an important round for Renegades. It's nice for Ricky to be able to start off with a good kill for them. In comes JKS, but he goes down straight away. Great jump there from Rinda. As looks, and he finds as well 2 kills from him so far. Can he stop the bomb from going down? There's a lot of pressure there. There's not that much time. So right now MVP is starting to really struggle. Just Rinda left, and Azza's going to finish it off. A great series of frags there from Azza, giving Renegades a chance back in this. They'll start off with good economy into their CT side, which is going to be a huge relief, to be honest. And MVP, again, you would normally expect to see a force buy in a round like this. And, with the possibilities for, rushing on this map, whether it's ramp, whether it's upper, whether it's, split, it's surprising that, that they don't go for these force buys almost at all, even in spots where it works quite well.
Well, if they don't have this is a map that they don't play. So in fairness, they're probably not going to have a force buy strategy. And in that respect, if they don't have a plan with their force buy, then they may as well save their money for a full buy strat.
I'm used to teams doing like the opposite, where it's like they force buy in spots where they really should never be force buying, and that's like that's like what I'm so used to.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's any right or wrong decision. It's what people fancy. The problem for MVP here is that not force buying and not doing any damage to Renegades' economy is really bad, because I think we're likely to get to 11-7 obviously, and then if Renegades win that first buy round, I would put them as favourite to win the map again.
Yeah, I think you're right. The thing with this map as well is that it's a map that's you can manage your economy on as the CTs much better than a lot of other maps, especially if you get the good start, because you can throw in use of shotguns. You can play much more situationally with less optimal guns than on other maps that are very open, such as a Dust 2 or a Cache or a Mirage, where it's much more difficult to use shotguns and SMGs. But this map, you can very well do that. So Renegades should have a good CT side, especially if this is going to be a map they're going to choose. They have to have a good CT side. In comes the push here. Azza making some bank with a couple SMG kills. And the rest is a formality now as the round is finished off. And only one player's lost, which is fantastic here for Renegades.
Let's see what Renegades do with their weapons. They're carrying an MP7 and 2 UMPs. Now, if they hold on to them, they can go for a full buy should they lose the round and potentially reset the loss bonus of MVP, which would allow them to catch up immediately. So it's a calculated risk going up against 5 AKs. But again, with expected superior strategy, that could strengthen the value of these guns for the CT side as well. So that's what MVP can do to break this. Looking for fast pace towards ramp at the CTs. Not going to work out though. JKS and Usilo go down immediately. This is going to put the pressure on, or will it? Yam with a 2K as they're coming back as well. So this could go either way. Weapons have been collected. Yam with the AK. He's heavily tagged, however. But now the situation will be reset. Rikke is moving back and everything will slow down a little bit. Argency and HSK moving into early positions now, but Rikke, the door's been blown off. He's got a lovely angle there, and that's very strong for Renegades. Bearing in mind, they didn't spend that extra money. Let's see if they can win the round. HSK, the AK, 12 HP. Not expecting the last player, Yam, to be in main, and he will take the round for Renegades. So indeed, they'll have no problem buying up. So they're in a really good spot now, despite the 3-round deficit.
It's interesting too because, again, playing against my expectations, typically when you're going to be buying AKs on the 3rd round, you know that the CTs are usually going to be probably carrying across a couple SMGs, and if not, they're probably going to have a few FAMASs on their hands as well. So on the majority of maps, you look for the most open engagements, the biggest ranges. So on Cache, it's you take a delayed mid-take, and you try to play the ranges. On this map, you go outside. MVP kind of did the opposite. They went into the most enclosed spaces that they possibly could, giving an even playing field for the SMGs there. So it's a bit chaotic, and it didn't work out for them.
That's a very good point you make. Damage drop-off of the SMGs is quite significant. MVP, the gauntlet run now, the bull run, but they're running straight into the bull. That bull is Rikke, well, Azza mainly. Sign, trying to see what damage he can. But again, the economy of Renegades is Bentleys and Rolls Royces now. And that's a big problem for MVP going forward. Pause being called by Argency for MVP. Presumably a tactical pause to decide how they're going to approach this round. They realize the importance. They can't lose many more rounds MVP because Renegades will just grow with power. We see the spray down the garden hose from Azza, making sure all those plants get life.
And part of the reason why maybe we don't see the outside play on round 3 there is potentially just because MVP, they don't have, let's say, necessarily the confidence in playing outside. Because I think that's one of the hardest things on this map to do as a T side is to correctly play outside, because you have to consider a lot of smokes and flashes, you have to have all those setups, and you have to know how to position all of your players to not basically give up like silly 1v1s to the CTs and so on and so forth. So it is probably one of the most complex parts of the map, so I can see maybe why that might be the case there. But now we see the AWP onto HSK, we can surely imagine that he's going to be taking that outside. And Renegades are onto just rifles at the moment, so you definitely, with just rifles on the setup, you definitely want to see a team giving up middle as the CTs, typically speaking. Rikke, however, your expected position for him might be garage, which is very defensible, and you can play very safe, or the stairs. But he's going to go aggressive instead, and he gets a kill, but immediately traded. Yam there from the upper area, able to get a trade back here, but this should surely only favor the MVP side here, because they have 1 minute and 15 seconds left, and it's a 3 versus 3. So they can go anywhere they want. There's a lot of holes in the defense all of a sudden.
As moving towards the secret area from downstairs, JKS with a very passive angle on the ramp, and Ustilo has a very aggressive position in the hut, as you can see there. Sign biding his time on the high ground, may find a friend towards secrets a bit later on. Argency around Squeaky, and HSK is going on an investigation of his own. He may, if he's not careful, walk into Ustilo. Dropping the bomb to Argency. It's important that he throws it to Argency, not on the floor. Meanwhile, Azza taken that. That may pull players away from the A site towards the outside, perhaps. There we go. Ustilo in the hut delivers, but he gets traded immediately. HSK can jump in and grab the bomb. Now there's a man advantage. JKS is going to get smoked off in his position as a bomb gets planted for main. Straight through, JKS will go, but it's not enough. MVP takes the round. And this is where that economy is so important for Renegades. Straight back on the buy. But they're running out of rounds to lose.
Yeah, it's definitely looking quite interesting at this point, because this is the major turning point at this phase now. Can the economy be held on by Renegades, or do MVP just get into that home stretch where they're able to just close down the map? We'll have to see. All power on Rike, of course. And that's always going to be a good thing, a positive note for Renegades, but the AWP is playing outside. And right now, Renegades just playing it very, very passively. And that's, again, what you expect as the CTs on this map. Unless there's generally, they're quite difficult to push on this map as the CTs, but you've got so much going for you in terms of rotation that it's all about information. Information is very, very, very impactful as the CTs. And with information for Yam outside, they're able to get vision over the smoke, just about.
Look at that gap.
And he can get some damage and fall back. Very nice.
That is quite the gap in that smoke, and that may lead to people going down, or not. No one's in position to capitalize on that first player passing. Sound moving as the smoke disappears. Let's see how Renegades reposition. No frags for either side yet. Speaking of which, Sign gets taken down in the area between the sites, the vents. My English is failing me down. I forgot what vents are called for a second there. Anyway, as that smoke will save him for a while. MVP, the clock is ticking for them. They don't have any picks. And they're going to be under pressure to get a bomb plant soon. However, we've got players moving out of secret towards A. And that would be a masterstroke, because we see there's a lot of focus from the CTs towards B bomb site. Maybe Rinda suggesting a fake now. There's still a player on the high ground in A, however. And with 20 seconds left, MVP needs to find him. Down goes Rinda towards B. 2 players on the ramp for the CTs. Sound gets taken down as well. You still have a very tight angle there. And this may just work out for Renegades. Bomb going back down towards B bomb site. Argency putting in some more damage to the CT economy. That is not the correct plan in that situation. Definitely needed to go for the safe one. Took a gamble. Gamble didn't pay off. And they needed that money from that plant.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's so perfect, isn't it, for Renegades? That is, as I said, it's like such a big turning point. Either Renegades get broken, or they end up breaking MVP. Now MVP are only 2 rounds ahead. Their lead is starting to evaporate. Renegades are bringing themselves back into this one, and this should be a great round to make some money. It'd be great to see MVP with having, let's say, HSK on almost 5k there. Sure, he wants to get an AWP in the future, but to see a little bit more firepower in this round, just to try to get the pressure in onto Renegades. They cannot allow Renegades to survive with 4 or more players in this round. They really need to get 2 or 3 kills here to pressure that economy.
Ricky needs help. He is isolated, and he's going to get surrounded by these Ts unless he's got help from the high ground. He hasn't got a single pick yet. He's got support from main. That's really important, and that will save his back. Players moving into the A site now, getting cut down 1 by 1. They've got 2 kills though, and Yam is susceptible. He's vulnerable rather. Heavily tagged. HSK has picked up an AWP from the outside. Rike finally going down.
Yeah, Rike missing some key shots there, and it's allowed for HSK to have an AWP, because in reality they shouldn't get that close. And now things do get quite interesting. There's a real potential for another couple kills here from MVP. However, Renegades are doing the smart thing. They're just holding sheer angles. You can see Yam is there around heaven.
He should have heard Sound jump onto the platform, because you have to be running at pretty high speeds to get there. So I think you're pretty much guaranteed to make a Sound. No pun intended. Spots him. Very nice stuff. A bad angle for Yam, unfortunately. HSK now. Last man standing. Instant trade for him. Is he going to commit to the plant? No, the fake comes out. It's going to draw JKS out and snap his chest off. Lovely stuff from MVP.
Oh my God.
And we are moving into dangerous waters, Dan. That was an eco round.
Oh my God, that's ridiculous, isn't it? And again, a lot of it comes down to Rike having a poor performance outside, missing so many shots onto just guys running around with Tech 9s. That is a really big problem. As you said, he had some support, but it was very light support from main. And, well, I mean, it should be fine. He shouldn't need that much support in that position. But HSK getting his hands is grubby mitts onto that AWP. Made all the difference here, as you can see, for MVP, as they go 13 to 10. And there's one more buy here for Renegades. This is a must win round for them. And in goes a very fast entry frag there for Argency for MVP. That is really huge there. JKS goes down. Yambo tries to defend with the UMP, gets some good damage in as well as a kill. And although it's a 4 versus 3, some of these players from MVP are quite low on health, but they've gained ramp control. The occupation of MVP and ramp is real. And will this force Renegades to take a risk? Because they're in a spot right now. They don't know, because they've lost ramp, whether or not MVP will go down or whether they'll just hold and go upper again. It's very unclear.
Azza was in control room, but he's put himself in a off angle in the B bomb site. We'll find out how many frags it's good for. Maybe we won't. Starting to push towards ramp now. So what can Azza find out in this situation? MVP just waiting for him. Had the wrong angle, unfortunately. MVP's patience paying off. I like the decision making in this round. The early push of ramp, the first time they've done it on their T side. Ricky spots some information towards ramp, but it's still 45 seconds for MVP. 4 versus 2. Argency and Sound are heavily tagged, though. You still know there's opportunity for him if he can find those players. Moving into B now. He still is on the high ground, but people are holding angles. Speaking of which, HSK takes him down. Ricky in a 1 versus 4. His decisions have been taken away from him.
Yeah, he's just missing so many shots at the moment, and that's just a massive problem. A massive problem for Renegades. MVP with a very unlikely situation. I mean, if he's able to save this AWP, there's obviously some hope here for Renegades in the future rounds. But again, they will realize that Ricky is the last guy standing. And if he saves the AWP, they can make a strategy that means that the AWP is kind of factored out of having any impact in any push that they run. So they're going to try to hunt him down. Ricky's been missing a lot of shots. Can he hit some clutch ones here? There is one. The smoke goes down to make life a little bit more difficult. And there's only a couple more players coming for him. Oh, there you go. Very important frags here by Ricket. If only he could have made some of them earlier. So now what do we have for Renegades? An AWP and some spoons.
Yeah, this is a very difficult situation for Renegades. They can, I mean, it's super awkward. It's super awkward. Do they buy around the AWP? Or do they save and play against match point for 5 rounds? In which case they're likely to lose the AWP in the following rounds. Those are the decisions that they have to make.
It's Nuke. I mean, I think there's a lot of good options to go for 4 spies, and also having 2 chances against just 1 would be really, really nice here for them. What are they going to choose to do though? It looks like they're going to go for the one buy to rule them all. But I don't know if they're going to be able to pull this off against MVP, who have all the momentum right now. It's looking very, very scary. Rick is not going outside, which is a smart decision because you could likely expect MVP to want to avoid outside as they know there's an AWP.
That's a good start. That's a very good start. 2 AWPs now for the Renegade side. MVP, though, charging through. Well, 1 player. Sign, of course. 2 kills for him. So far, so good. Argency patient, waiting for the recall to recover. But can MVP recover? Ricky is still lurking around with his Kevlar on the high ground. Yam is there as well. P250 has potential. Bomb getting planted. They don't need to worry about that. They need to just get the kills here. Down goes Yam. Too many players for Ricky. So they took the economical stance. I mean, this is expected, to be honest. You eco, you're unlikely to win the round, but if you do, if you don't, you're probably going to lose AWP. So they have to prepare for this. And now it's last chance saloon. 5 rounds. This is very doable for Renegades, but of course they can't make any more errors. No more errors for them. That was a great kill, though, by Azza. CZ so useful on close quarters.
So this is what they were playing for the M4s in this round. And again, this is typically a very fine buy for a game of Nuke. Lacking the kit is kind of an issue, I got to say. And you still having a helmet is very suspect. If there was a coach behind him, he should slap him in the back of the head for that helmet. There should be no helmets here. They are lacking grenades. They're lacking kits. And they're only up against AKs and 1 AWP. And once again, MVP haven't shown a huge amount of confidence outside on their outside plays. Renegades can absolutely give up outside, force close range engagements. And MVP are waiting for the push. It's a very smart use of their early round time for MVP, because they do realize that Renegades probably are experiencing some desperation, and there may not be a situation where Renegades have all the weapons they want, which may prompt aggression early on. But that's not the case. Renegades are just playing it passively, and now MVP, with 50 seconds to go, are forced to make the move.
Yeah, I'm getting worried that MVP are now potentially waiting too long, and they're going to have the same problems that Renegades did. Nice peek down to JKS in a familiar position. He'll get shot straight in the face. Will MVP commit to the B bomb site though? Sign's being taken down elsewhere. The bomb's still in tow. The smoke grenade's going down to help the bomb get planted. 29 seconds, so there is some room for failure now they're on the bomb site. But indeed, it needs to get bombed. It needs to get planted. What kind of post-plant positions will MVP have? They're still on ramp, but most players are in the site, which is not ideal for them. So there's potential for the CT side here. Argentina playing behind on the high ground. And there goes Usillo on the ramp. He can run distraction. Nice 2K from Usillo. Put his team in a great spot. 4 versus 2 at the moment. Now it's Sound stuck in a room. There's surely no way he can do this. 2 kills for him so far. 2 more to find. Oh, what is this? Sound does he have enough bullets? Oh my, could you imagine if he clutched that? Either way, he didn't. There should be just about time. But still, you still should have bought the fuse kit instead of a helmet.
Yeah, there's just no reason to have no kit in that round, to be honest. But anyway, I mean, for observers, for us as commentators, the amount of games that we've seen where they could have bought a kit and then the round is lost by not having a kit, it just happens so often that it's just imprinted in my brain. It's all those times when there should be a kit bought. But yeah, here is the 3K coming in from Sound. And honestly, if he was to actually clutch this, I think that would be the straw that broke the camel's back for Renegades, just like to tilt them off the face of the planet, because there's been so many highly tilting situations for them, I think. But generally speaking, okay, you can make the argument that in some spots they have been unlucky, but MVP are outplaying them from an individual perspective and otherwise. We're seeing, routinely JKS is losing to those entry fragging attempts on ramp. That's happened, more than 1 or 2 times where he just gets instantly wrecked. Times outside when you've got Ricket AWPing, trying to hit shots, having to hit shots which he, are must-hit shots where he can't connect them. There's like loads of spots where the performances generally from Renegades is just not on point. Everyone's a bit quiet, apart from Hazard, really.
Yeah, I think a lot of problems at the end there for MVP was just post-plant positions. They had a guy on ramp, but he was looking into the site, and that was a big problem. Ricky rotating his position now. JKS has been picked off a number of times there, and Ricky's doing great damage for Renegades in a round where MVP have a better buy. JKS coming in for support as well, so Renegades have made adjustments in the pause from MVP. They won't lose a single player in that round. MVP get wiped out. They had a much better buy. But, I mean, finally that came in. JKS was playing pretty much the whole time on ramp. That said, he was not challenged until the one time that push came in early towards ramp from MVP, and they had a very nice round. So adjustments being made from Renegades, and a great time to do it.
Now the AKs are out again, the AWP's out again, so doubtful that we'll see MVP just rushing in like that. And again, it's also unlikely that we'll see too slow of a round where they leave it to like 40 seconds until they do anything. Because, again, they're probably not going to be expecting there to be aggression here. And you can see already they're setting up some smoke grenades for the outside area to make some progress. A bit of a push there from Ricky. And it's nice to see that there's a potential here for Renegades with this aggression. There's a lot of information, and also the confidence of Ricky, despite having some issues previously in this, to go for aggressive peaks with an AWP, shows that he's not really been too phased by what is otherwise a lack of performance so far. And JKS, great position, great off angle, and this is more what you would expect to see on this map from the CTs. 4 versus 3 now, and MVP don't really have much positioning. They've lost lobby as well. Yeah,
Ricke's position in radio room gives a lot of information to Renegades, and that allows them to keep a stronghold on other parts of the site. You're still over great angle, no response just yet from MVP. Another 1v1, it's going to be won by Sign. But again, Ricky is continuing to push into the hut in A, so that's going to give a lot of information for Renegades as to where the T's might be. One player caught in isolation, and that's Yam doing what he can. But Sign is going to charge through the smoke and take a play down in main. Trace coming in, down to the 1 versus 1 now. Bomb in secret. Argency rotating, but again, Ricky's position is so strong that he will have a good idea as to where this bomb is headed. Swapping up for the AK is Ricky. But now he's above Argency, so Argency will hear that reload coming in. He's got 18 seconds though, so Argency can't really focus on that vent. He needs to plant the bomb. He's got the information, but he doesn't have the choice.
The information might be all that he needs, though, as he can take a position back and away. You can see he's already looking to the vents. Oh, he was looking in the right spot there, but Rickers was very quick to that frag. And that's going to be another round for Renegades. But is he trying to find an AWP here? I would presume so. And MVP, they did get the bomb down, though, and they've conceded a couple of rounds. So they should have some decent money, I think, to get a bomb. Have a look. Actually, no, they won't actually have quite enough money. They're probably going to opt to go for a half buy, actually, in this next round.
3,200, I think, from that. Yeah, this is... that would make sense. One round needs to be won, and they've got 2 rounds with which to do it. Yeah, that was really good play from Renegades. And it's really important to have the confidence to go for an aggressive play, even when you're against map points. Like Ricket's push. I don't think you saw it on the main screen at all, but he just constantly pushed from ramp to pretty much inside radio room and was there for more or less the entire round until all the kills started kicking off. And since he wasn't detected with that push, I mean, it's something he could go for again.
Yeah, so much info. Not in this round, though. Just a Tech 9s, Kevlar's, and as with the very dangerous position. That is why most teams will throw fire onto the hut there before going for the rush to prevent that position, because it just instantly blows up the push. This happened multiple times in this map already. Now Sign's left with 50 health, or 35 health, sorry, and just an M4. But might need no man's land, so Sign not with really much in the way of opportunity here. This is kind of an impossible task. It always feels so horrible when you want to go into upper from main, and you know there's CTs up there, because your legs will be exposed first, and there's just nothing you can do about it. So Sign is looking to try to potentially get away with the value that he has, I wonder. And there it is, the finishing blow from Ustillo. And Renegades bringing it to 14. Just one more round. And MVP, they did save the previous round to get to a buy-in for this last one, for this last chance to take it.
I wonder if they'll opt for the AWP, because it would be Sam's helmet if they were to do that. So where is the buy, MVP? Okay, HSK. It looks like he's going to go for it. That last second pause. I do wonder if they're discussing what to do with the AWP, because having no helmet is a problem, but it's not the end of the world. I mean, there's plenty of times you'll see Ricky playing with no Kevlar whatsoever. Obviously, this is to discuss. I mean, it's one final push, right? So you want to make sure everyone's on point, everyone's coordinated, and you pick what you think is the best approach. I think one question for MVP is, do they think that Ricky is going to go towards the ramp again? Because, you know, Ricky's going to be... He's not going to go to the same place all the time. He went to the ramp to solve a problem. That problem was JKS getting picked off in isolation. Now, if MVP think that Ricky is not going to go there, they can go for their ramp play again. And there's a fair chance they'll be successful purely because of the numbers game. However, if they're wrong, let's see what they choose to do. I would go for the ramp play myself.
They've been successful there multiple times, especially in picking off JKS. But if Rick is there, then it's very problematic. And a lot of teams do play fast, you know, two-men setups on ramp earlier into rounds, just in case there is fast play there. Then they kind of pull them back in a way, which is kind of like on Dust 2, similar thing. The first thing you're worried about is that long rush on Dust 2s, and then you have 2 players there at the start, and you pull them back later into the round. And MVP sort of just working the default here. They've got radio control, they've got lobby control, they've slowly working onto control outside, at least the T portion of outside. And seeing if they can get a pick somewhere. HSK the man leading the charge. It's a very dangerous game though, because Ricky could be literally anywhere on this outside area.
Yeah, Yam's holding an angle in garage towards the main position, making sure there's no split coming into the A site. You see there is a player close, but with Yam's position, they don't really need to focus on the outside. All these players, all these angles where the T's are looking for openings. And Yam can hear the running below him as well, so he can make the call to his teammates. They've got Azza on the low ground already, and Yam's going to look to go for the flank. So Renegades are ready and prepared for this. They don't have any grenades, though, apart from Yam.
Yeah, that's the problem. If Azza has a smoke there, Yam gets a free flank. But now they can get past Azza's position, which means Yam can't really capitalize on the flank, which would have been the really sick play. but he can still get there in time to help the effort, so they will have the bodies in place, but they have to make the frags, and so far MVP have been very on point there. Great position from Ricker, but they've discovered him. Nice catch on the player jumping around the corner. Now it's on to Sam, but he's got 10 seconds to plant the bomb, and that bomb will be planted in the safe spot, but does he realize where these CTs are coming from? It's going to be tough to get this done. Sound trying to get the taps in there, but it's just not going to happen. Yam from behind. He was waiting very patiently, but he does close down the round in the end. And we get 15-15, so overtime for map 1. But it really shouldn't have gotten to this for Renegades.
No, but I think we've had a good read on what we expected to happen at crucial points of the rounds. Like once Renegades get crucial round earlier on, I think there was a fair chance, maybe not of overtime, but of them to get to 16 rounds. 15-15 though, and you have to wonder now if Renegades' best, sorry, if MVP's best opportunity to take this map has come and gone, because I go back to that round where they rushed the ramp and just got wiped out without a single kill. Yeah. Because now Renegades can continue the momentum of their CT side, because in the first half of overtime you don't swap sides. So whoever had the momentum on the comeback can continue that momentum theoretically and move into a lead, and then have less pressure going into the half where they had more struggles. So in this case, I think Renegades are in a good position. Speaking of positions, this is a position I was talking about earlier, where Yam's holding an angle towards main, which means his team don't have to focus so much on peeking outside from the balcony and such when this wall of smoke comes down, which is currently being deployed by MVP.
Yeah, Renegades, they got unlucky in their first half as well on their T side, so I would expect this to be very favoured indeed. Slow push outside, down the stairs, and again, it seems, generally speaking, Renegades haven't been super on point in actually blocking this approach, because usually the T's can get down there, then there's a spot from the stairs, the CT can put a smoke down. Instead of that kind of setup, as is usually, as we can see here, in the vents, and he'll smoke down one side, but that means the MVP side can always get control of control room, and once you have that position, you can take the bomb side. So it's going to come down to the rotations here, and so we can see Ricker slowly bringing himself into ramp, catches urgency there actually, which is important because now they know that the committed play is going to be on that lower bomb site. The bomb is planted safely in the smoke. Yam
takes down a flank from main, which is really important for his teammates. And now we see MVP, this time the post-plant situation, they get off the bomb site, which is much stronger for them. And it's going to be harder for Renegades to find these players. Angles being held towards the back of the vents. Now we see the CTs moving in, so if MVP play this correctly, maybe they can close the net on these CTs in the site. That is a very exposed plant as well. Some ducking and diving from T's in the vent. That's not going to work out though. Two fast frags from the T's though. The spray down's coming in, but on the wrong player. They were so close to the bomb, I don't think he was sure which person was defusing.
Taste of their own medicine now. That was something that happened multiple times to Renegades. But again, one thing I don't understand is how Renegades always give up control room for free. It's like in every version of Nuke and CS:GO, it was always very prevalent that if you allowed the T's to get the control room, then they have and a kind of anchor point to actually take the bomb site, have good post-plant positions. And Renegades always give it up for free, and it's always been causing them problems.
With, I think maybe the focus is on how to manage the outside, so that's a casualty of the situation. But I was thinking, with JKS and Ricky currently consistently playing on the ramp together, although that said, now Yam is over there, I thought they'd have a good squish of the B bomb site with Azza playing in the vent, but JKS got picked off early in the last round. Ricky now back towards the outside position, using Molotov to slow down the players. The HE is a nice follow-up as well. Perfect. Big damage done to Rinda, but still, he makes it past. Now Yam is on the low ground. Sign is biding his time around the silo. He's been flanking quite well in a few rounds. JKS on the high ground. So Renegades have changed their approach towards ramp, and that's going to cost MVP to try and discover it. Nice hold from Yam. The bomb down as well. 5 versus 2. He can back off. Doesn't need to hold a bomb in that situation. Numbers advantage is so great. And he's heavily tagged as well.
Yeah, interestingly, though, I think the idea was good there from MVP, but Argency, I think he jumped through from into ramp a bit too soon, because the whole point is that you feel like you can do that for free when your teammates have taken that position down the stairs, but they hadn't done that yet, because that's what actually triggers rotation down to the lower site from the CT from ramp, is when you lose the stairs, the secret area. So if Argency just waits there, obviously his teammates did actually just die coming into the stairs, but if, like in theory, if Argency waits for the entry there, his teammates to get down into the horse control room, that's when he gets into ramp for free. So the idea is there, though, for MVP, but you can see that Renegades, as noted, they're carrying the momentum forwards a little bit. They're looking a bit more confident. They're a bit more warm as well. This is the first map of today. It's early in the day.
Just a reminder, it's MR5, 5 rounds per half, 16k here in Malaysia. So now we have MVP attempting the fast play towards the ramp once again, realizing that Ricky was outside, but Ricky's back inside again, and he's picking the players once more. Able to reposition, hasn't been touched. He's a magician. How's he made it this far? Well, at least for MVP. At a cost of 1 man, they've taken the ramp, and they've got 1.5 minutes on the clock. Ustilo, though, coming in for a flank. 2 kills for him, no answer from MVP. The numbers are being cut out, the money is disappearing. 2 versus 5 again. And now the clock is not so relevant for them.
Yeah, Sign has that position on upper, but what is it really good for at this point? Considering that his teammate is stuck, so now he has to try to give his teammate an approach. And just as he's able to do that, he's going to lose HSK. So has to get the bomb himself. The forward smoke is going to cause problems. And there is the end of the round. 3 rounds in a row here for Renegades so far. They are looking pretty good going into the overtime. Perhaps they just needed to get warm. Perhaps that's all they required. But also at the same time, we are seeing that MVP, I think we're seeing just the fact that they aren't, this is not the best map for them. And there's no hiding that fact. I mean, that's been pretty clear throughout the entire tournament. Just for them to get to this point, that, even if they lose the map, they're getting extra warm-up time, to be honest. And if they lose the map, they would have expected that, I think. So it's no big loss. It's not the biggest loss in the world for them.
Ooh. Argency taking a gamble there. The gamble didn't pay off. Renegades keep changing their approach. I mean, on a previous round, JKS was boosted up on those boxes towards ramps, so MVP keep getting surprised, and it's costing them players early in these rounds. Speaking of early, they're moving in towards main, but it's not working out for them. 4 versus 2 on this occasion. Sign in the hut, and he's the last man standing now towards Squeaky, I think. Takes Ustilo down. He has control of the bomb, but he needs to clutch big time. 2 kills for him so far, but he's got 2 more to find. Spots Ricky. Where is the other player? Seems he will go for the hunt in the meantime. Ooh, wallbang is real. Ricky repositioning. Will luckily stay alive, and JKS is in a great position to instantly put an end to this madness. 4 from 4 for Renegades. This is the problem with the momentum. They may go into the second half of overtime with 5 map points.
I'm just wondering what what the plan is from Argency there to just run into ramp alone through a smoke. I mean, really before anything else has happened in the round, because in some spots you can justify it, like when you expected there's a rotation, but right at the start of the round it just seems I'm not sure what the idea there is for him there. Maybe on the analyst desk they'll enlighten us. I don't know. Either way, 1 Tech 9 and 4 AKs. It's not the worst buy in the world for a T side. But they desperately need this last round. They really desperately need this. And what is going to be their approach? Because again, we haven't seen too many drills from them for, let's say, set pieces on the upper bomb site, which would be definitely quite good with the Tech 9 and 4 AKs. Perhaps HSK can steal away an AWP. That has been possible in the past. Ricky is getting peppered there a little bit by the AKs as MVP start to move outside. It's a dangerous game. Challenging the AWPer outside with no AWP of your own to trade. And that's the reason. The angles are very, very good for the AWP. And it's so impossibly hard to trade. And that's going to trigger the push here. 3 versus 3. It's actually working out. MVP having their backs against the wall. And they're actually able to get some space going for themselves.
Sign with a nice shimmy there, but down goes the bomb. JKS has another play to deal with. That's a great Molotov, forcing him from the position. And Sign needs to collect it quickly. Got a teammate in tow, so trades are possible. Both CTs just repositioning, expecting this bomb to go down. You see Yam's going to be moving through the T-spawn position pretty much. JKS being careful on the ladder. There is a ladder now in the bomb site, so they can take the high ground as well, the Ts. But also JKS just waiting for his teammate to come in. Sign, though, is taking a very back position. Looks it just in time to take down Yam. So now there is a disadvantage for JKS. He's on the high ground in the site. Gets the first kill. Can he get the second? No, the spray will do certain work, but he needs to go for the defuse. Sign doesn't need to face. He's going to keep causing problems, though. JKS knows he has to find his frag. but he won't. Sign baits him away from the bomb and gets one vital round on the board for MVP moving into the second half. That is a very vital round.
Well, yeah, it's a round. It's a single round. But Renegades, I think they're going to be feeling very good now. I mean, moving into their T side again, they lost a lot of very, very marginal rounds on the first half, and it created some situations where then their economy sucked, and so they had to play with poor economy, which wasn't ideal. And MVP were playing with some of those innate advantages. So just generally speaking, in regular time, MVP's CT side, they did get quite fortunate. So, and I mean, that's something that probably won't happen again. We'll have to see. But Renegades don't have to worry about money, which is a big deal for them.
Rookie blowing the door off. Will there be a peak sign? Oh, what is going on there? It's like he wasn't even aware the door got blown off. Massive advantages. Argency, though, bringing things back to a 3 versus 3. Time not on the CT side necessarily, but at least the numbers are even for the time being. Aggressive positions being held towards Radio Room, if I'm not mistaken. Indeed, Sound's trying to take players by surprise. So maybe his team can use that information as well, though he's backing off towards the ramp. As they're on the high ground towards A, but Argency's ready and waiting. That's good position for MVP at the moment. Rookie on the outside. Yam also much more forward towards the garage position, maybe looking to flank these CTs towards Heaven. Argency holding the angle that Yam, ironically, was holding earlier on. And indeed, Yam's making his way to the high ground, so we'll see if Argency reacts when Yam makes the jump to the platform, because Yam will be right next to Argency, and he misses the jump. Goes back to it again. Argency should realise what's going on here. Why are we looking at Sound? There we go. Pop flash from Yam. Argency. I do wonder if Yam will be ready to check the same angle that he was holding previously. There it is, straight in the face. Lovely stuff. Ricky gets taken down as well. Nice 180 from Argency. And that is a calamitous end.
Oh well. Doesn't matter too much. In fact, it doesn't matter at all, which is all good. Well, it's going to be interesting now. I really think MVP are going to have a pretty hard time here, but obviously that's one extra round. That means that so far they've managed to pull 2 rounds together. Still a couple behind though. Let's see if they can tie things up a little bit moving forwards. So we have a pause in here. Is this a tactical for Renegades?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So Renegades with a tactical. That's a very smart thing to do. I mean, there's only 2 rounds that they need to win to bring this one over the line. And it is smart for them to assess their options and get on the same page here and sort of work out also where they think the weaknesses are in MVP setup. And one thing, again, that I mentioned in the past is that MVP, they are a team that will fight you outside. They will give you those opportunities to get frags, whereas there are some teams that do not allow you an opportunity to pick them until it's like right at the last second, basically, when you're trying to push into a bomb site. I think that should be favorable for Renegades, that MVP like to fight outside. And HSK, he has been a bit more consistent than Ricky on the AWP, I have to say, though.
I think we have a fake from Renegades here. We've got 4 smokes on the outside, the full wall of smokes where you can't see them moving towards Secret at all, but nobody's outside for Renegades. We'll see if they can take MVP by surprise, pushing through the smoke here. And we've got Argency getting taken down in isolation, so maybe the fake has worked. Minute 15 on the clock. Will they commit to the B bomb site?
Looks like they are going to be making a move there, and Rinder's there to stop them, and that's going to buy us a lot of time here. And you can see that MVP have managed to set up the rotation. Very crucial frag there. Yusila takes down the sign. He was holding down the control room, but what is this? Rinder just running out of the door there to stop the plant from going down. An extra effort to delay Renegades from getting the bomb plant, but there is still 50 seconds for them to work with.
HSK 1 versus 3. Bomb not planted in his direction. It's on the high grounds. That will not make life easier. And now if he scopes again, he will be heard by the player standing above him. So he may go for the quick scopes instead. Yam spots him regardless, and Renegades move to map point. Been a long road to this position. Can they take it over the line?
And for them not to be able to take it over the line, they'd have to lose 3 T rounds in a row. And then it's another overtime. 3 T rounds in a row for them to lose. I cannot see that happening somehow. I just can't. I would be surprised very much if that would be the case. And Renegades, they can now do the wall of smokes outside and actually send players there as well. Just always keep MVP guessing. And again, if you can get the control room control quickly as a tease before rotation is correctly come into play for the CTs, that's a massive advantage on the lower bomb side. That said, MVP, as I said, they like to fight outside, and look at Sign go. He's playing very forward spacing, essentially 5 players. And that's going to be a 1-for-1, and that's not going to be a favorable trade here for the MVP side.
Renegades moving really quickly. Will there just be a constant train to the B bomb site? Getting into positions, they've taken control of the vent area. Molotov going down. MVP, I think they have a player in the site. Yeah, Argency's got a very nice spot. If that door opens, he's going to be ready, and indeed Yam's going to get taken down straight away. Bomb falling into the site. I think there's a smoke on the other door as well, so he can hold the angle, but Ricky will be faster with the AWP. He's got an angle onto the ramp now. Sound getting taken down elsewhere. Big problems for MVP in this round. It's down to Rinda and HSK. Rinda in the site, completely blind. Positioning so he can face control. Blocked from the door. And again, as is making his way towards control. The bomb is below Rinda at the moment, but it's being collected by the T's. Down goes Azza. The T's not in a position to trade because of their great positioning by Rinda. Moving towards A now to plant the bomb.
Yeah, really weird round actually. But Ricky will be able to plant the bomb on the upper bomb site in the end and take himself a post-plant position of his choosing. Looking for the rotation out of secret. He's read that one correctly. Will he keep holding the angle though? JKS looking to make sure the vents are safe, but HSK comes in from the back. That's Ricky dead. Very important frag, leaving JKS alone. He's given up his position now. HSK going for it, and that's going to be the frag. And the round is stolen away by MVP. And I do wonder if Renegades have an allergy to the control room, James, because when they took lower, immediately, they all went to the door on the left. All of them, basically. And it took about 30, 40 seconds until they went to control room. So they could never plant on the lower side.
On a side note, that last frag came in with a 5-7, and even though MVP have to win every single round, 3 of the players left spawn with USPs in that round. Which I mean, maybe if you're going outside, maybe the USP will be better at the range, but always think about getting those pistols in again. Like you see 3 players with USPs, but they need to win every round, so might as well spend the extra cash. Because if that player had a USP, maybe he doesn't get that frag. You never know. Ricky with a very aggressive angle, and lucky to survive in that situation. The wide peak from MVP, that flashbang wasn't ideal for Ricky's position at least.
The cool thing though is that he did spot HSK. He knows that HSK is in that position. Oh, Ricky getting tagged again through the metal of the HUD. That's actually kind of problematic because he's very close to death now. But for a moment, I mean, they did have a bearing as to where HSK was, and you know, being in ramp room, it means that they have a kind of good grasp as to his positions. But that's one of the reasons why it's a great position for an AWPer as well, is that it's very versatile. And this is basically the key play that we just saw outside of is Azza. He's more or less the playmaker in this round. He's managed to get himself into a very advanced position, more or less for free. What is Azza going to be able to do with it? Will he wait for his teammates, or will he just try to initiate the play here? He's got a lot of opportunities to initiate. And then we'll have to see where the chips fall. There's the first frag, the second one, and that's the upper bomb site. Finds the 3rd player, but his teammates should be able to finish him off.
High ground has been taken away from MVP now. Argency getting traded. But Sign is in a position to get back up there. And nobody's up there to hear him jumping on. HSK creeping through the window. Oh, he spots JKS, but he's not going to get the frag. Sign last man standing now versus 3, and he will not be able to do it. Renegades finally take the map they should have always taken. I think we can all agree. 21-18, a valiant effort from MVP. And that may just give them confidence going into the later maps here, but that was a very rocky start for Renegades.
Yeah, it's very rocky indeed, and there are a lot of problems and issues to overcome. Again, I can't really stress enough that I feel like probably the majority of the times, maybe like 7 out of 10 times, we see them taking it, with a very strong first half performance. But it's actually the inverse. MVP having a really strong in the CT side, and Renegades could never quite get going on the T side. I think most of the time Renegades will have a fine time there. So I think they're going to feel very relieved that they managed to pick that map up, because if they don't pick it up, suddenly there's huge pressure that their pick would have gone to MVP, and all of a sudden it's a must-win second map, and that's just not how they would envisage this series ever.
Scoots, what do you think about
that? I tend to agree. We're going to yell at you first because I thought you jinxed it. So thankfully they did pull it back. But yeah, much closer than anyone expected. Again, like you said, solid CT side by MVP. But as expected on the map, right?
I think one thing to bear in mind, though, is Renegades really unlucky with those 2 smoke diffusers, which had a big part to play.
Yeah. Agreed. Thank you, Jim. Oh, good.
No, it's just like it's something we can continue on.
Yeah.
Really, the fact that James is absolutely right that, that's unfortunate from Renegades, but I also think it's poor by Renegades at this point that you have players who played for such a long time, and you kind of have to make a mental note, as they mentioned during the cast, that you have to have an idea of where you've planted, and a lot of the times you see them when they actually go back to do the repeak and shoot through the smoke, they're not even close. Like, they don't even shoot an angle where somebody who would be defusing could actually sit, which is an issue. So obviously at that point you haven't really thought through the angle that you're planning from, or like how you're going to approach the after plan. So there are definitely things for Renegades to sort out, but for my part, this was just a very impressive first half from MVP. Like much better than what I would have expected.
Yeah, Xine, I think specifically had a massive half on yard, and that seemed like being the bread and butter for Renegades, trying to go yard and kind of build up rounds from there on out. But Xine doing what he did kind of nullified a lot of it before they really got into any position to do any executes, because we saw yesterday. When MVP was pressured on our upper side by an executors there, they were, well, clueless you could say, right? So we didn't really get see much of that, which I was a little bit disappointed at. If Renegades would have watched that game, the demo, maybe asked their fellow Australians about how they got those rounds on T side, I think that's the first thing that they would have mentioned probably. But you kind of give credit to MVP though. I mean, it's not only the poor play from one team; it's also always going to be great play from the other one. And Xine and Artisancy, especially, those two guys really putting the numbers on the board.
All right, well, let's go and kind of like anything jump out of the door. I mean, it seemed like the overtime was when we saw the Renegades that we kind of thought was going to show up earlier.
Things started to normalize a tiny bit for sure, and I think as the game obviously went along, you saw as it had just a great game overall, but eventually as you got towards the end of it, you saw Ricky just having more and more of an impact to the point where they started moving in about the map so he could try to find picks with the Yop or just be active and be a bit of an issue for MVP that they had to deal with. So they can't really blindly go out in yard because they have to account for the potential of an off there. Same thing if they go towards ramp. They always had to be worried about Ricky potentially playing that position at any given point, which is smart from Renegade's side. And with him, gradually starting to hit shots more and more, that's obviously going to be a big issue for the Koreans.
Yeah, and again, that's one of the things about a best of 3 for both teams. Like MVP's okay, they're not out of it yet.
Yeah.
And same thing, Renegades needs to shake off that slow start. Yeah. Now they got the momentum going into map 2. We do have the scoreboard. Let's take a look at some stats. And again, all these stats are brought to you by SoStrong.com. You want to check those guys out. And they've added this new thing in their world called impact rating. They're taking all different facts and figures about the round and kind of giving an impact rating to players. It could be stuff based on how if you got kills after a plant, clutches on 2v1s, 3v1s, or the opposite side of that, a 1v3, 1v2, etc. So definitely check out their website. They explain their impact rating and how it all works. It's kind of gives you just a little bit more of a stat to kind of pull someone out, because you can't just look at KDR anymore. You can't just look at that kind of stuff. So it's kind of neat. So check that out. What jumps out to you guys with the stats?
I mean, there's AZR and Ricky were obviously the ones with the highest impact score as well. And I think what really pops to me is the opening / entry frags for them is 19 combined, 10 for AZR and Ricky with 9. So those are some really good numbers for them. I think it kind of goes to show that Renegades had more issues ending the rounds than starting them off, because they did lose a lot of those they were in 2-2 situations where it felt to me at points that they were not even playing off each other at all. Like it was like two individuals. At some points, actually, it is beneficial to play as two individuals, especially if it's a 2-on-1. But in a 2-on-2, it rarely ever is, right? You kind of have 2-on-1 to position yourself so that your teammate can always try to revenge a kill if you get killed, or some kind of surge needs to be there. But none of which was found in a lot of the 2-on-2 situations we saw from the Australian guys.
Yeah, actually, in the case of the Australians, I actually thought it got a bit more and more shaky towards their end of their CT half in terms of how they actually played together, which they would pick up rounds, but it seemed very disjointed from time to time, which is surprising. You would imagine that teams get more and more synergized the longer the game goes, unless it's just a complete mess from the start to finish. But that wasn't really the case for Renegades. Like, sure, they got off to a rocky start, but they always they started bringing it back, and then they started kind of dissolving again like glue. So a bit of a strange trajectory they're on right now. So I'm curious to see how they're going to be impacted if they get off to a poor start going into the next map on Cobble, because we know that that's a pretty solid map for MVP, and they definitely had a better showing on Nuke than what we expected.
Well, let's take a look at our MVP. I'm 99% sure it's AZR.
Yeah, it should be.
It should be based on the impact. Yeah, there he is.
There. Yeah, makes sense.
Well, highlighted him before the game started as well. He has been the best player on that team for quite some time, actually. I think JKS, for the better part of it, kind of has dipped and been down at a bit of a slump for quite some time. But Az has just progressively gotten better and better, and is keeping up with it. And I think if he doesn't have that kind of a performance today, then that map goes to MVP.
Yeah, especially towards the end of the match on overtime. He had a lot of opening kills on the T side. Creeping its way towards Heaven, getting those kills, up bomb side, opening the doors for his teammates to come in from various choke points afterwards. So definitely an MVP-worthy play from him.
Yeah. All right, moving to map 2, which again is MVP's choice. Cobblestone. Looking at some stats from both teams, online and offline. Definitely a solid MVP map, both offline and online. They're 7-0 in the last 3 months at LAN, and they're 3-0 online. Renegades has only played it once on LAN. This is before yesterday, right? And they've lost it. But online, and again, playing predominantly in North America, et cetera, they're 8-2 on the map. So they got a lot of practice online against the North American in those leagues. But I don't know how that's going to translate.
I think they also had one LAN victory at Extreme Land, the tournament in Asia, like I want to say 3 weeks ago or so.
Really?
Yeah, on Cobble. I'm pretty sure they play versus MITH.
They lost. They got MITH, but it was only Dust 2 and Nuke they played.
Sure about that?
Unless this website that we all love so much is incorrect. They did play
Cobble versus
at Extreme Land
yeah.
at Cyberzen. Is that what you're thinking, maybe?
Yeah, but no, they lost that one, right?
Yeah, they lost. That's the one they lost.
Yeah,
that's the one when they played. According to these, but maybe one stat got
always
mixed up. But anyway,
both teams have played it quite a bit. But it's kind of surprising actually that MVP are the ones who have played it the most at LAN. But I think barring the Tai Lu opposition or the Tai Lu game that they've had on Cobble, they haven't played the same level of opponents really on the map as Renegades has, and that's always going to be the case because Renegades predominantly, playing NA these days.
Exactly, and that's what I want to bring up. It was a 16-6 victory over Tai Lu on this
very
map.
dominant
so
victory.
That's nice. So what are you guys thinking going into this?
I mean, they managed to take Nuke to overtime without, first of all, winning a pitch round.
Apparently that's the key, like to actually getting close.
Could be
actually knowing how to play.
Renegades looked sloppy. They were sloppy, so they definitely need to be more on point. They made so many small little mistakes in a lot of situations when it comes to. They got into bomb sites a lot, but that's when it seemed like they stopped thinking altogether. It was just a window of opportunity for MVP every each time to come in and take a round away from them. So they gotta get rid of that sloppiness to be able to close it out. Though that being said, Cobblestone is a good map for them. It's a map they've played a lot throughout their history. Basically, it's one of their go-to maps. So I feel they're still going to edge it out. But if they keep doing the kind of mistakes they have, there's going to be win conditions there for MVP as well. But I do think Renegades is going to close it out in 2.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of leaning the same way. I think result versus Tai Lu like that MVP had, that's absolutely they can only be positive, but. From what we saw, Tai Lu whenever they played Cobble, is the fact that their CT setup is extremely volatile. It doesn't rely on any sort of information at all, like to even a lesser extent than what teams already are struggling to do with, like get some sort of information with the limitations that the map brings. But Tai Lu just strictly set up straight into like crossfire positionings and hope for the best. And if they're off, then the entire round falls apart. But if they're on, they just have dominance every time. So that could easily skew results and whatnot. I didn't get to see that exact game, but I would assume that definitely could have been a reason why you see such a dominant result for MVP, because normally Tai Lu just doesn't really lose to people in their region. But it's a good sign for them. And MVP, they wouldn't have picked it unless they think they had a legitimate chance of winning it, right? So no, I'm looking forward to it, but I'm still leaning towards Renegades. They just have everything going for them in terms of individuals who can shine. We saw Azza, we saw Ricky getting into it as well, and we haven't seen JKS obviously, which is like a big, nice ace up the sleeve to have if you're the Australians. They have everything laid out for them to be successful in this kind of a tournament.
And it's like you said, it was a sloppy win, but it is a win. Put it behind you. You got the W. It was your map. Now move forward and do it again. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, Dan and James are going to take you through Cobblestone, MVP Project, and Renegades.